Hey folks, it is March the 22nd, and today we're going over our second to last chapter, 37. And this has to do with Diocletian, the Tetrarchy, the division of the Roman Empire, Constantine, legalization of Christianity, Constantinople, a whole bunch of stuff. So we're almost done with this book. And then following that, we're going to start doing world geography, either this Friday or next Monday. And that's going to be what we work on for the rest of the school year. I'm going to have the test graded for you as soon as I can. I'm hoping to have it done on or after Wednesday. We'll see. So the terms that we have on the board are Diocletian, Constantine, Christianity, Constantinople, and after Constantine, like shortly after Constantine. And I'm going to have the students in the room help me out with the board too. So, cool stuff. All right, folks. So, I need y'all to pay attention real quick. So, if you'll remember, the empire has been contracting for a while. It's been, as far as the culture goes, a lot more people in Rome are there who don't share in the traditional old school Roman ideas. For one, a lot of Romans are now adopting Christianity, which is very anti a lot of things that Romans are for, such as murdering people for entertainment and wars for the sake of greed and stuff like that, right? And also Christianity also pushed a lot for women's rights. Things like that. Because if you remember, in the Roman Empire, women were pretty much like property, whereas Christianity treated women as people who were made in God's image, savable souls, and things of that nature. And so this is very counter Roman tradition. But also, we have a lot of people who are of culturally different in other ways. You have a lot of people who are, they called them barbarians, but they were people who were Germanic tribal people. And we call them Germanic, not because they're from Germany, they're going to settle in Germany, but they speak languages that we call like Germanic origin languages. Kind of like Romance languages came from Latin. Germanic languages all have a common root. So they're all very similar to German. Diocletian is going to come to power as emperor in Rome. He's going to be a very suitable general, but he's going to try to figure out how to keep the empire together and stop all these assassinations and things like that. And so he's going to develop something called the Tetrarchy, where you're essentially going to have four emperors. One of them is the head emperor known as Augustus, and the other three are known as the Caesars, and they're like lesser emperors. They divide the empire into four parts, and they're going to have a line of succession. They're going to divide the armies up so that they're not constantly with like a super giant army constantly running things. Diocletian is really going to take to heart being a ruler. He's going to do things like sit on a throne. He's going to completely disconnect himself from the people he rules. And so this is where we're going to see the introduction of thrones, crowns, silk robes. People get having like royal titles for the king and stuff like that. Jacob, can you close that? We're not doing that right now. And people like bowing before the king and kind of treating the king like the emperor as a king that's kind of like godlike, something like that goes back to the ancient Persians, right? And so this is something that's going to be adopted by the Roman emperors after Diocletian, and it's going to become a characteristic and a trait of monarchies in Europe throughout the Middle Ages. So here we start seeing Rome become the Middle Ages, become medieval, becoming late antiquity. He's, of course, going to build himself fine palaces. He's going to have expensive courts with great feasting and entertainment, just like a great king, and it's super expensive. And your book's correct to say that he's going to really up taxes on people in order to pay for all this stuff.
But he doesn't really show his luxury.
No, he did, but he kept them to himself. He kept them like within to the king, like to the king. He didn't care about sharing with the people.
Yeah,
right?
he would dress like anybody else. So.
Yeah, he didn't care about the peasants. This is when you start seeing like a class system become more defined, less about Roman citizen, and you're more of a subject.
The one who didn't, like walk around in nice clothing was different.
Well, a lot of them were different back then. Remember, because emperors saw themselves. Remember, Augustus is the first citizen. He was still a citizen. Now the emperor is like, I'm a king, and I don't care about your citizenship. You're just a peasant to me, a subject. And so, taxation is going to become really heavy on the people. And so poverty is going to start going up a lot in the Roman Empire because of this. During this time, because of all the instability, education goes down. Also, what goes down is the arts. Roman statues are becoming more and more simple and medieval and less lifelike. And so this is supposed to be a statue of the tetrarchs. But if you notice, it's not really good like the ancient Roman and Greek statues we've seen before. They're not lifelike. They have almost no emotion. Their proportions are off. I mean, they look like Oompa Loompas. Like, it's just weird. It's kind of like when you get all the way to say the Bayeux Tapestry of Normandy. It's like something by our standards looks like something like a third grader could just doodle. So art training is going to go down. Well, the Bayeux Tapestry. This is going to be a time of renewed Christian persecution. This is going to be known as the last great wave of Christian persecution. Whereas Christians had been allowed to do things like build churches and be more open, now we're going to see many of them executed. Their property confiscated, their churches burned and torn down. And so, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. Here's the division of the tetrarchy. You see you have a small portion here, one here and here, one to the west, and one here. And so, of course, Diocletian is going to keep this part here, if I remember right. Or no, did he have the east? Oh, I remember. Yeah, Hispania was a Roman province, but it's going to be taken over pretty quickly by, I think, the Visigoths later on. So, in come Constantine. So Constantine, after Diocletian retires and basically takes up in his retirement, like working as a gardener in his own personal palace, Constantine is going to become one of the Caesars, and then he's going to enter into a civil war to see who gets to become the only one. So the tetrarchy doesn't last at all. It's all going to gravitate back towards one guy being in charge. Before famous battle, what was it? The Battle of Milvian Bridge, Constantine had a Christian mother. And his Christian mother constantly preached to him that he should convert to Christianity. But he kind of stayed on to the old pagan ways until his deathbed, when he had like a deathbed baptism right before he died. But before all of that, before the Battle of Milvian Bridge, it said that he had a vision where the sky, he saw angels and a cross, and there was words that said, "By this you will win." And so he's going to have his soldiers all paint a cross and the Greek letters, the chi rho, on their shields. That's supposed to stand for like cross and Christ. And they're going to be victorious. And Constantine will become the emperor of the Roman Empire. So there's the symbol that they're going to have on their battle standard. So bless you. And so Constantine's going to fully reunite the empire, but then he's going to divide it in two. He's going to be, some people place him as the first Christian emperor, and he kind of was at the end of his life, but even though he's an emperor and he's a pagan, he's actually going to oversee a lot of the important early Christian councils that are going to do things like kind of decide where Christians are going to come together and kind of like proclaim what they believe about the nature of Christ and the Bible and things like that, way back in the early days of Christianity. he's going to move the empire into Greece. Well, an ancient Greek town called Byzantium is going to name it Constantinople. And this city is going to be like essentially the last bastion of Roman civilization up until the Ottomans like decimated the 1400s. So you see it's here. It's like built on a narrow channel entering the Mediterranean. It's going to have like what's almost indefensible walls. They're actually not going to be able to take it down until the advent of gunpowder and cannons, when they can pulverize the walls.
Didn't the Ottomans like ask people to level the city?
They did, but it took them like 10 tries. And when they came in and leveled the city, that was just part of standard war practice at the time. You promised your troops, if you win, I'll let you go in there and do whatever you want and take whatever you want for 3 days, but then I get to keep the city afterwards. And so, yeah, that was kind of like the standard rule. Oh, I mean, yeah, it's pretty typical. I mean, a lot of things were destroyed. Next year, we'll talk a bit more about Constantinople, such as its defenses, and we'll talk about like Justinian the Great and stuff like that. But just know that this is going to be kind of like the surviving part of Rome for a very long time. As I said, Constantine is going to have a deathbed confession. He's actually going to spend a lot of his own personal money at his mother's request to build churches that are still up today in Jerusalem that pilgrims still see, such as I think the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, like where Jesus was buried and stuff like that. And that's pretty much does it for that. And so we have our terms up on the board. We have Diocletian, Constantine, Christianity, Constantinople, and after Constantine. And so, yeah, like after Constantine, as you saw, his son was a hardcore pagan. And he was, during this period, a lot of people were very upset about his son because he was rolling back a lot of the Christian reforms that went on and stuff like that. But then when he dies, people are going to see that as an act of God. I think he dies by an arrow fighting the Persians. And then Christianity will come back to the Roman Empire, and eventually it's going to become the official religion of Rome. Constantine doesn't make Christianity Rome's religion. He just legalizes it, which was important. All right. So let's start from bottom to the top. So, hey, could y'all tell us after Constantine? Constantine.
It's just like how. Why isn't Iran called Persia? That's not so confused about.
I don't know. I don't remember, honestly. Thing is, the Persians didn't call themselves Persia. I forgot what they called themselves. Yeah, I really don't remember. I don't even remember where that term came from. Your phone. You have the answer. What did Persians call themselves? Way too many open tabs.
Julian.
That's why, yeah, they refer to themselves as Arya, which is where we get the word Iran from. So it's actually more the original Persian lesson.
Why do they call it Aria?
Ah, language changes over time. Maybe that's the English version of it. So like, kind of like if you go to like certain countries like Italy, Italians don't call Florence, they call it Provenza. They don't call Venice, they call it Venetia. And I don't know why. Something about English, we just kind of change things up.
I do the last one first.
Yeah, somebody requested that they go later, so I honored it. Yeah, next will be Constantinople.
And then we were square. I can match up these two documents.
See, Tristan isn't here, so he can't say so.
At first, but then now that's first. What is this?
You're dumb, you need to write in Russian.
All right, so after Constantine, first his sons ruled, then nephew Julian the apostate preached the old gods. It's like, like Jupiter and stuff, and minorly inconvenienced the Christians. Then he died. Well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of like the big finale. All right, so Constantinople.
Hey, I can rise up. What's
So
the
31st.
John? Yeah, taking home for the book, right? I go not definition. Oh, wrong. Hold on. There. It's really long. Maybe just write parts of it. Nope. No, I just read a lot.
My hair was so my hair was so bad. I just sit there sticking up in the back of my book. So I was tired of treating it out.
Portico.
And I had to put something in the background. I had to, and so it's really wet.
Not yet. I'm gonna.
I put a little bit of water, well, I put a lot of water in my hair.
Okay.
And I get caught in the dry first.
Yeah.
Only a little bit wet. And I put like rocks in my hair. You know, loose. Loose. And I think they used to. I used to fifth grade. I used to fifth grade.
I read this in college. Sorry, guys. Constantly. Constantly. Well,
Oh, yeah, hey. Constantinople. A trading city constructed out of Byzantium and was named after Constantine.
Out of Byzantium. Like, oh, Byzantium was a research or
12, yeah, see the money thing, I ignore that. I don't like it when they put dollar amounts in there. You can't compare back then money to today money. It's not possible.
That's a lot of money.
So a lot of money was spent just on the walls. And these were like very good walls. Porticos, aqueducts, theaters, circuses, forums, churches, and they really loved that big thing up there, the hippodrome. They loved their horse races, right? And so that's going to be a big part of it. And baths quickly sprang up. It also had many statues and ornaments. Yeah, so this is like all that's left and great of the empire is going to come here. And a lot of money is going to come here too. And the Byzantine Empire that's going to emerge from this is where a lot of old Rome's wealth is going to stay, and education. This is where ancient Greek books, learning, mathematics, engineering, and stuff like that is going to still exist, while Western Europe's going to become the third world. All right, so we're good. Next, Christianity.
Can I help you? Can I help you? Why not?
You okay? She has help.
I work. I take the blows for me.
No. And then like you like showed it out, like look there. I'll see them.
You're gonna make me do all the fun.
Then we're done more. Yeah.
Two plus yesterday, plus days. I'll watch. I'm just gonna wait till like we get to bed, but you know, I have to write all these down. I like writing
If you
down.
insist.
I know.
But they were on his own.
No, I guess they have missed class. They keep it. We go down to history. What's a meat pie?
Hey, cool. So, Christianity. Galerius, that's the emperor, one of those Caesars, persecuted Christians. Constantine supported them, gave them rights, passed the Edict of Milan. And that's the first important governmental document in all of history to help out Christianity. Julian was very pagan and wanted everyone else to be, but he died and Christianity is going to thrive. So you see, there's a lot of that's unspoken here too. Like I said, Constantine is going to personally sit on church council meetings where you have Christians from across the empire come together and debate matters of faith. And also, there's actually going to be like back and forth where you're going to have pagan thinkers and philosophers who are going to write trying to write treatises on why they believe Christianity was bad. And then you're going to have Christians, like theologians and stuff, write letters and books about why they think it's good and paganism is bad. So you're actually going to have like almost like an intellectual, spiritual competition going on during this time. So there's a lot of changing going on in the empire. All right, so Constantine, next one. Constantine. We read that. Y'all had that. All right.
Drop the papers. Is it ready to employ? Carlos? This is fine. You're fine.
Yo, Ella's here.
You're going uphill. You're going uphill.
It's kind of hard to take notes in like chronological order because you're going backward.
Oh.
Yeah, I just
I should have gave y'all that favor. Well, that's okay. That's okay.
I just read numbers.
Next time we won't go backwards. Yeah. Well, I mean, my one, I have two tips for this. One is be brief, and the second is put it in your own words. I mean, you can have a wrong answer, but usually people, are pretty good about this. So, just so you know.
How does one get
Huh?
How does one get
Handwriting? That's what? Oh, well, I mean, think of it like, I'm thinking of it as if like you're reading someone's thoughts in a dream bubble. Like if they're a cartoon and the bubble's coming out of their mind.
It's neat, but very small.
He was a general. He claimed to have seen a cross in the sky.
Ella woman.
He did not persecute.
Like, I know it's so popular.
Well, I mean, he people say he had a genuine conversion to faith, like late in life, and it was pretty common practice back in the day for early Christians to, they didn't quite early Christians didn't quite hammer down the idea of forgiveness of sins, but Christians did believe that baptism forgave sins. So a lot of Christians would try to wait until they're on their deathbed to get baptized. And so Constantine did that too. So they're like, well, I'm about to die, so I better get rid of those sins so I don't go to hell. And so it's a pretty
The thing is,
typical
God
practice.
knows that you're doing that to like try to cheat the system.
Well, yeah, but like I was saying, like a lot of Christians were still trying to interpret scriptures and stuff, and they were still trying to even compile what exactly is going to go into the Bible. Like they haven't, like it's going to take time for that to
We
come
have
out.
to genuinely.
I'm just standing on a chair.
Very good. So he also allowed everyone to practice their own religion. So yeah, this is like free religion. It's something that had been pretty normal throughout ancient Greece back in the day, but it's going to be gone for a while. It's very wise. It became very good. Last one, Diocletian. Yeah, red can be a little tricky. Something
I
red,
see the
orange,
word
and
A.
pink. So let's get that last one, Diocletian. Like, if y'all need,
I'm standing on a chair.
that's fine. A lot of people do that.
First is first.
It's because I'm so short. I'm
But
like
it's
5'2"
good
right
having
now.
first.
Well, I'm sorry.
You need someone to be.
At least you don't hide it by trying to wear platforms or something. Like, that would just be. Yeah.
Breaking the dress code and there's no complaint.
I heard Al Pacino does that. I heard he wears platforms to make himself look taller.
Who?
Al Pacino.
I'm gonna put rock in my shins to make taller.
Ow.
How lame is that?
I'm 5'2". Oh. Can y'all read that?
You're right.
Your head's in front of it.
Huh?
Your head's in
It's
front
fine,
of it.
you're fine.
You told.
Just for me, you be shorter.
Jonas, if you don't be quiet, I will.
For shade.
Oh, geez.
Chair. Want me to read that for you?
What?
Want me to read that for you?
Nah, he's got it. Now, let me know if you need somebody to like hold the chair, kind of like a ladder. Should be a window washer.
Oh,
Wait, was Julian his son or his nephew?
I thought it was his son,
Me too.
but you could double check your book, you know, and just put down.
He can Vince. He was a.
Where?
I don't think that's the guy that does like everyone else.
Huh?
I don't think that's the guy
Yeah, it
that
is.
does like everyone else.
Yeah, this is the guy who wore like what they're saying is that he dressed up like in fine silks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so so he didn't dress like everyone else.
Well, he didn't just like everyone else.
Like he even had jewelry in his shoes. He had bling
Yeah,
shoes.
yeah. He had Gucci shoes.
It was like bedazzled. And bedazzled shoes.
Didn't he act like everyone else though?
Not him. No. He's gonna retire and take up gardening and stuff. And apparently he just likes, I don't know, like not, he basically when he retired, it's like he went to an old folks home. He took care of the flowers and he kind of just sat in his chair.
I wanna plant. Since it's early spring, you can start planting blackberries.
Well, yeah, blackberries are blooming right now. A lot of them, like the flowers are coming out.
I wanna just convince my mom to buy some, because we had blackberries at our old house.
Mhm.
And they were just like good. It's like in the summer, we just go outside and
ate 'em.
eat blackberries.
Yep. Well, there's a whole bunch of them down that hill. I got a whole bunch in my backyard.
We should have a, y'all, since y'all do good sports, we should have a garden.
Uh,
Lots of like fancy
Gardening
schools
club.
that, like, garden club, that have, like, money.
You literally have a big patch of grass that you can plant berries on. Why not?
And that'd be something that'd probably be pretty feasible. I mean, make some planter boxes or something like that, all that stuff. As long as it looked good.
Cooking club.
Well, like you could get some microwaves in here. You could have the hot pocket club.
It's just like you're not allowed to like complete the campus.
I hate you move a chair. Excuse you.
Why are you writing so much? You don't have to.
What?
I said you don't have to write everything.
I'm not writing
You
everything.
said something up in your
I
word.
can't-
I'm on my last sentence. Is that too small?
Bro,
It's okay.
It don't need time.
Bro, just like
Careful,
make it
there's
your
I'm
own.
surprised
gravity
that
over
my
there.
writing actually didn't like go into like the next like dimension. Like it actually stayed like straight. It kind of went weird.
You have to think about staying horizontal when you're doing the board.
I said, this you just keep going back and
Hey, sweet. All right, so Diocletian. He took Asia, Egypt, and Thrace for his share. Chose Nicomedia to be his capital. He is one of the richest men of his time. Didn't really show it. His clothes were made of silk, and his shoes made of pieces of gems. Diocletian allowed Christians to worship. But Jacob, guys, they can't hear me if I'm talking over you.
Was he a Caesar or an Augustus?
He was Augustus.
It says in the book.
Allowed Christians to worship at first, but one of his Caesars, Galerius, didn't oppose them. Yeah, he did more than oppose them. Remember, he led to persecution. So then he is going to persecute the Christians. So, hey folks, that's going to do it for today. We're going to come back and do the first half of the next chapter tomorrow. Now, on Wednesday, I'm going to have a sub because I have to give the SAT test to our 11th graders. So I'm going to have something posted for you then. And then we're going to have our very last lecture on ancient Greece and Rome on Thursday. So, see you then.